right. Put that to the side. Okay, this should be right, and I should have my mic fixed from the last one. My lights seem right and everything like that. We already got somebody in here, I believe. Let me check these. Get rid of that. Yep, looks like I'm live, looks like I'm running. All right, cool. Just like the other ones, welcome to Friday night, and we are going to hang out, do ourselves a window shopping stream, a hangout stream, a what's going on stream, a fraggin' stream. Okay, let me fix this part here. Bam. And yes, if you are actually still here, you are on time. Yes, 100%. Getting my bearings here. We missed this last one. I was going to be here last Friday, like I've been pretty good about hitting every single one of these, but I did not make the last Friday. It was, I'm trying to remember exactly why, because I cannot remember. Oh, no, that's about stupid. I should definitely remember. I don't know why I said I don't remember. Oh, excuse me, I wasn't here for the last one because I was ridiculously tired. In order to guarantee the con that happens tomorrow, in order to guarantee money so that I could actually hit the event, I had to work. So I worked Monday through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then, of course, the regular work schedule. So, yeah, doing that when I knew I was going in Saturday and I knew that I was going to work the entire day and everything, and I had to be up at like 5 a.m., I was like, there's no way I'm going on at 9, staying in until 12. There was just no way I was going to do that. So yeah. It's your Thursday. Isn't it Saturday? Maybe your hours work differently than ours, because when I worked third shift, the way the time clock counted the day specifically was when I what was it? Oh wow, I gotta fix that. Hold on, no. Let me put that back to size. Let me get this because that screwed up. When I did it, when I was doing third shift, what ended up happening with my stuff was when you signed out or whatever was when man, that screwed all my stuff up. Like, I don't know how that happened. Anyways, yeah, let me fix that, bring all this back up, because somehow all my stuff got moved. There, now I got my window palette and everything, so everything seems right. Anyways, yeah, when I used to work third shift, the day that you clocked out was the day that you worked. So I went in on Sunday, but they wouldn't pay me for Sunday because they'd end up having to pay me the OT double time. So the way all the time clocks worked at the couple places that I worked third shift at, they counted when you signed out as your day. So if it's Friday for me, it would be Saturday for you or whatever. Yeah, you used to mess me up because I was always technically like a day ahead in how I would have to describe days to people. Yeah. Well, I mean, Seth is around where I am, so yeah. Friday night is written Friday on the written schedule, but the time clock counts it as Saturday. Yeah, because by the time you clock out, you'll be clocking out on Saturday. It's probably written the same way because most of these companies use the same log information. So we used a system called Kronos, which was then double backed into Workday. And that system counts the the time that you clock out as the day that you work. So then when it tallies funds and things like that, it doesn't have to worry about paying certain things. And so then like they can do, it's kind of messed up. They can do things like they'll give you technically the 3rd off, but since you would have clocked out on the 4th, you still technically got the 4th off. But then you don't actually get to do anything on the 4th because you're not going to like go to the fireworks at like 9 and then try to get out of there by 10 and be to work by 11. It's like it just was not going to, it's just not going to happen. Seth did handle the entire stream alone on Fandom Night because of that. I would have been there. There's no way I could make the time. And then I don't know what happened to Shane. I have no idea. He is currently job hunting and in all kinds of crap right now, so we don't exactly know what his schedule looks like or what kind of dependability or anything that is. And then Nick, I don't know if he got called in or if it was just a matter of the because he had a thing going on with his lady. Because it was their anniversary and everything. So yeah, I don't know exactly what took place there, but everything, all things considered, basically everybody was gone. And we don't have a huge crew anymore. That's another thing with Fandom Night that people, I don't know if they've completely, I think some people have really caught on to it. There are 4 guys now, and that's it. That's it. And it's not gonna climb anytime soon. It's 4 people now. Let's see. He may have been. I don't know. Somebody lured him into the woods with promises of dreams and gumdrops. Okay. There was some stuff that I thought was pretty cool about that stream idea that you did, where you went in and you just did like, you just hung out and like watched some old content. I've considered something like that before, like going in and talking about old stuff, and very much the premieres, that's going to be a thing that we can do, because as the premieres go up and we say, hey, this is an old video, I just wanted to get the live chat in and things like that. When things like that happen and we fix certain videos, we'll be able to talk about things that we either like, dislike, things that were cool, not cool, things that worked and didn't work, things we tried that we thought would go one way. It's very much a situation like that we simply... Like, I thought about it. I really did. Because there were a couple times that you stopped and talked about some things that I was like, man, I kind of wish that I was there to give some input on that situation. Because I remember some of those days and some of those people and things that we were doing and people we filmed with and like situations that simply don't play out now, or things that we wish we could have done. Or like, like, when you got to the Pokemon episode, we didn't stop that because another guy beat us to it. It is true that another guy beat us to it, but one of the things that hurt us was I was, at the time, editing alone, and we were doing 9 shows, so we were editing, like, I edited the audio part, and I edited the video part, and then I would hand that off to somebody who would, like, do the work for the website or whatever, and then that would get, so it was a nightmare, and I was literally spending like 10 hours a day at work and then 5 to 6 hours a night editing, and so I had like 0 life. And that Pokemon thing that we were doing back then required that I was going to put in a whole bunch of GIFs and things like that of the Pokemon in place in certain areas where we were going to purposely use, it was going to look goofy on purpose, where like we would throw out the Pokemon or whatever and it would very much be the pixel art thing ripped from the video game, but that meant that I was having to go through, find the pixel art, and then chroma keyer it into place and then move it literally frame by frame through the animation, and it was just taking too long to do alone, so I quit. It was kind of my fault that episode never went through, because I just could not do it and nobody was helping at the time. I don't know what that meant, but okay. Let's see. sometimes he's unfunny. I'll say it right here. Me and Scott, I try for all that it's worth. I have tried for all that it's worth to be decent with Scott. And we have a decent working relationship. But we're not like hangout friends. And I don't know that me and him will ever be on great terms. There's a lot about him that I don't necessarily love, and a lot about me that he doesn't necessarily love. Now, when we do get together, we do all right. We play video games and hang out and things like that, but in terms of like me and him working together, we rub each other the wrong way a lot. And so there were times that Scott was unfunny because we spent a good portion of episodes battling. So I'll be the first one to tell you, I think that in all reality, like if I see him at the con tomorrow, I'm more than happy to go up and be like, "What's going on, man? How you been doing?" and this and that. And I'm literally interested to see, because he's got some cool stuff going on right now. Like he's doing what he wanted to do. I'm not gonna say he's not a friggin' movie star or nothing like that, but he's doing what he wanted to do. He's doing a lot of his acting and things like that, and he's appearing as extras, and he's learning camera and things like that. He's doing a lot of things that he specifically wanted, and that's great. And I would love to talk to him on certain aspects of that, but I don't know that me and him are necessarily cut out to do the shows the way we used to. Now, that's not saying he's cut out for anything. It's just that I notice it. So, like, if he does have spare time and he ever comes back to do a couple episodes, I don't know what they would be, but I don't think it's going to be a regular thing again. Not the same way it was ever again. Let's see. New Batman. Did you? So you got the new Adventures Batman coming in. Dude, those looked cool. Those really did. I'm passing on it. But I did think they looked absolutely fantastic. Like, they very much reminded me of the ones that I had when I was a kid. What's going on, Liquid? Let's see. The Rail fan, he shows up from time to time. He still comments and things like that. I think that his schedule doesn't link up with a lot of live broadcasts the way that it used to, though. Especially right now. Like, I do all my stuff like late. Like, I'm getting in here at 9 p.m. and I don't know what time frame he's on, but yeah, we still see him we see him enough that he's still very much a regular. Okay, so I want to check, since we're here and we're doing this, one of the things that I want to check today, I want to go over to Entertainment Earth to start us out. That's where I want to start tonight. So let me come in here. I will go down to this corner, all the way down here, little bitty Bill. Yeah, because this is where I want to start us. I want to start in Entertainment Earth. I do want to check. The Joes had an absolutely fantastic launch. I want to check those out. There's some new stuff coming from McFarlane that I'm interested in. Oh, we have to talk about that. We have to talk about it. That's, you know what? No, we're gonna skip the Mezco thing right now. But we probably will end up talking about that in the future at some point, because that new Mezco Scream is, it's pretty solid, man. It is pretty solid. We are going to talk about that, because that's friggin' awesome. We do need to mention this. I want to at least look at this. There, I think we got a good starting point for some toys. What is that? It's super ridiculous cute. Look at that. Look at that. I don't know what that is, but that's amazing. We're not gonna look at it, but it's fantastic. I actually kind of love it. These, I actually do want to look at those plushies. There's a reason. Okay, that gives us a good load of things to check out. Let's see what's going on here. You may go figure hunting tomorrow. That surprises me, Chris. I thought you were out of the figure game. Like, sounded like you were done and you were not coming back, man. Am I stopping the Sentai Kamen Rider talk on Fandom Night? No. You have to understand that this year is going to be a slow start. We got to regrind everything, get everything back into action, figure out how we want to focus, and figure out how we'd like to readapt Sentai and Kamen Rider things back into the fold of talking about it. We may not do, because we're not, how do I put this? We are not in any way whatsoever click following. We're trying to make the show exactly what it was that made it what it was back when we loved it the way we did. And that means playing it the way that we want it to go. It has to be fun first. So in that idea, we may not actually look at costumes until a series finishes, not try to grab the quick clicks by getting in there when the preview images come up, because it's just simply not worth it. Every time we do that, we look at the preview images and then we end up having to go back and look at the show again, and it's really not worth double dipping. So there's things that have to change in the way that we handle this situation. Hey, Bill, you just did an unintentional pun. The rail fans' schedule doesn't link. Oh, damn it. You're right, I did do that, didn't I? Have I been doing any gaming lately? Oh, Wes, kind of? Okay. So look, I bought Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And I played through the entire game with my daughter. Then came back and played it again with my buddy, well, of course, with Nick. And then when I was playing it with Nick, what I would like to do is I'd like to just wreck out the rest of the game, basically, because we've unlocked everything except for the last possible thing to unlock. And that's that's Thanos with the gauntlet. And I don't know that I'm willing to put that kind of time into the game. I started playing First Departure Star Ocean, the remake. That's kind of cool, but it's also, it feels grindy, and like I really don't have the patience for that right now. And I'm still trying to force myself to finish Dragon Age 2. Like, I'm having a lot of trouble with video games lately. They're just not grabbing me the way that I want. And I don't know what to think about that right now. Rainbow Bright. Did I see the Mexican Aztec Batman thing that's been announced? Yeah, I did. I don't really know what to think about it right now, but I did see it. You think you're done with Star Vintage figures? Star Vintage, like vintage Star Wars figures? I'm curious what you meant there. Anyways, we are going to go on. We're going to start. So we're going to start in the Pokemon plushies. There is a pack out. There's a reason I wanted to look at this. I don't want a Squirtle with closed eyes. I don't. This is the material I want, though. So on my shelf back here, I have all three starters, of course. I have a Bulbasaur that I'm happy with. And I have a Charmander and I have a Squirtle, but not ones that I'm happy with. They're too rough. The fur or fuzz or whatever you want to say is too rough, and I really don't like it. And I've seen ones that I do that have the thread count that I'd like, but they're like sleeping. They're like sleeping position Pokemon. So I need to replace my Squirtle and I need to replace my Charmander and get on the shelf something that I specifically like, and I haven't had a chance to do it. So when I seen these, I kind of thought about it. But these aren't giving me the vibes that I like. I don't think I want him like this, where he's sitting down. I know I'm being particular, but if I'm going to have one on my shelf, I need to be particular. And I don't want a closed-eye Squirtle. So I got to watch what I'm doing, and so far this is not linking up in a way that I care for, so that's not going to happen. But I did want to look at them just in case. my Bulbasaur might be that winking Bulbasaur, which I was okay with. No, mine has 2 open eyes. It's not plush enough. But yeah, I don't think these are, but I wanted to see. Okay, so these are finally, some people have actually got these already. I know that it says coming April 2024, but I've already seen people on TikTok and YouTube, and maybe there's deals, because maybe some of these people, I've heard that there are vendors and groups that you can buy from, where you can get stuff early. A lot of people did them with the Ninja Turtles Motu stuff. They had their stuff way early compared to me. Like, ridiculously early. Same with, like, Tila and whatnot. I just got the Cartoon Collection Tila delivered to my door today, and people already had their reviews on that up, like, literally a month and a half ago, which is another reason I try to explain people that on my channel, I am not doing simple toy reviews. The toys are pivot points to do what I want to do. That's literally what it's designed for, is that every single one of those reviews that I do, like tomorrow, I have a Mega Man going up, the Jada Mega Man. There's already like 40-something people you can watch that already got their Jada Mega Mans way before I did, so I didn't have that ability, but that's not what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in necessarily the click or view count. I'm interested in doing the show the way I want to do it, and if I fail doing it that way, then I fail doing it that way, but that's what I want. So, like, I'm going to be talking, while I show off the Jada Mega Man figures, I'm going to be talking about why I chose the name Reploid Bill, how Mega Man was important to me, how I got into it, the games that I beat first, what it was like to go to my buddy's house. It's a talk. It's a fandom conversation about my personal journey through my fandom, my life, and the reason that I've decided to collect the things that I collect. He needs sunglasses. See, I play all the new Pokemon generations. I just don't necessarily love them the way I used to. The last Pokemon game I played was Scarlet. And I got mostly to the end, and then it just died on me. It just died on me. It's not quite what I want it to be. So, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It might not even be Pokemon. I'm in a weird state of mind right now where video games are not that tragically important to me. I've been reading a lot and doing things like that. Like right now I'm currently rereading Conan the Barbarian, the original Robert E. Howard books, all the short stories and whatnot. I'm also currently reading from the very beginning, the Fantastic Four, to see when it became what I know of it, because it's a bad book at the beginning, and look, I'll just say it. It is. There's a lot in that comic book that had to change and take place before it became the team and the character dynamic that I understand and love, and I can see it taking shape. But the beginning books, the first like 30-something books that I've read so far, they're not great. Let's see. I don't think that's a headband. That's one of those weird head glove things that like characters like him and Gambit used to wear back then. Okay, so that's interesting. So you don't like the face sculpt. I will say I did prefer this when it was the last one that I got, and I don't know how to even explain what that is, but I have a different one of these. Did mine come from the... Was Sabretooth part of the line to build Juggernaut? I can't remember, but that's the one I have, is the earlier one around that time. Let's see. I don't necessarily love this, but then again, I don't necessarily love kissy face Wolverine here either. I'm not a huge fan of this like smirky kissy face Wolverine that I see going on here. Is that the same head sculpt? But you could pick brown hat or black hat? Because that sucks. They do look like they got pretty good claws, though. And I like that he comes with playing cards. I mean, it's just a goofy little cool thing, but you could do a lot with it photography-wise. I don't know if this guy... I've heard people want a big Sabretooth, and he does seem like he's big. I mean, don't get me wrong, but is he that much bigger than the one that I currently have, Marvel Legends, on the shelf? Like, I'm really curious. I really am, and I wouldn't know unless I could get him, because I could tell you that the Sabretooth I have on my shelf right now, he is bigger than my Wolverine. Like hands down, he is bigger than my Wolverine. But I don't know if it's like, I don't know how much of a difference this one would make. I'm skipping this. I'm not getting it. But I did want to look at it, because I am still kind of happy with mine. I guess the paint is better than the one I have. And if he is bigger, maybe that's a selling point. But he seems awfully familiar. Those seem like the exact same legs. Those seem like the same arms. These hands seem exactly the same as the one that's currently on my shelf. I even tend to recognize this face design here. I think mine's just painted differently. I don't know. Wish I knew what wave mine was from, because then I would have a better idea, but I really cannot remember for the life of me. Let's head back to chat real quick. Right, no joke. Let's see. Yeah, I like the screaming head. I don't necessarily love that smirk, but it does remind me of the animated series a bit, that smirk. You really think the brown hat is scowling and the other one is kissing? And yeah, that's what I was saying, is I don't know if I would buy this. I don't want that Wolverine necessarily. I know some people do, but let me go in real quick, look again before we move on. They look a... I mean, I guess maybe I see it. Those look an awful lot like the same face. If it is different, it's not different enough for me to care. It looks like the hair is slicked back. This hair comes out more. That's a brown hat. That's a black hat. The eyebrows look about the same to me. Most of the features, it looks like he's got a bit of a happy face, like a half smile that's coming up with a kissy face. And he's got more of a straight lips. I don't necessarily love either of the Wolverine heads. Not a fan. I think that I'm comfortably stepping off this one with no worries. I don't think this is one that I'm getting. And yes, this is 1,000% true. What you are saying right here, Liquid, I agree with that statement 1,000%. There have been figures that I have seen the pictures for and said, no, not feeling it. No, I'm fine. And then I get it in my hands, and it's a completely different concept. In fact, one of the ones you can blatantly see that with is Merman from Motu. When Merman came out in the Revelation Merman, he came out, I skipped on him because I was like, he's too plain. I bought one on sale. And it came to me, and I got it out of the package, and I was talking about it. And during that review, I said, the pictures do it no justice. Like, it feels better in hand, looks better in hand. I no longer can look at Wolverine and not unsee the two Batmans. Well, I get what you're talking about. Hey, what's going on, man? Okay, let's move away from this. I've made my decision on this. This I can pass. I think my Sabretooth is satisfactory for me. I don't need to move to this pack. I'm not missing out on this Wolverine. I have no FOMO here. And even though I think this is better colored than the Sabretooth I have, I'm fine with it. So now let's move on to, this is the Mondo Rogue that they announced. That is crazy. I'm not going to buy it, but it is cool that it's happening at all. Mondo, those 1/6 Mondos, like, they're really cool. I mean, there's no denying that they're really cool, but I haven't bought into Mondo yet. I almost did when they released the She-Ra. That She-Ra was unreal. I mean, it really blew me away. I almost bought into it, but I didn't. And then I skipped He-Man. I skipped on the Skeletor. I skipped on the Battle Cat, and that was tough. That almost got me. But they do have me coming up real soon, because there's a Teela coming out for Mondo. 1/6 scale Teela, and she looks beautiful. This is incredible. I mean, you gotta give it to Mondo. Because of the scale of these figures, they can add so much detail, and the paint can be so fine-tuned on these things. Like, I completely see why people love it. Because look, this is even doing something that I detest, and I still like it. I don't like cell shading or shadow figures. I hate them. They bother me. They bother me because once they decide where the light is on the figure, I never get to decide that. No amount of camera tricks or photography or anything like that is going to fix the fact that they've already made the decision for me as to where all the etch lines and everything go. But like, even looking at her right now, this is what I mean with Mondo. There's a lot of detail here. And yes, they did go in and decide where the heavy shadows and whatnot go, or where the heavy line work goes. And you could tell that they've colored areas in. Yes, down here along the chest, and right here across the side, you could see it. That's not just a shadow effect. If you're looking, they changed some of where the paint sculpt is to add like the heavy black line here, but not heavy black line here. The line is heavy real here, but not heavy real here. It's light because they're playing with their own shadow effects that I don't get to choose. But where on a small figure like Marvel Legends, this really, really bothers me, I think Mondo pulls it off. And I gotta hand it to him. Mondo does terrific work. So on my drive to work, I figured out what your show is now, Bill. Welcome to I Collect, the show where I should... No, it absolutely is. I pretty much just ran with one of my earlier show concepts, and it's worked very well for me. I've just been a lot happier doing this show, and I've been running it for 2 years like this now, and I show no signs of slowing down. I just really like how this show feels now. I just feel like I found my step in YouTube doing what I want to do. Rogue's hair always makes me feel like she's from an anime rather than an animated US cartoon. I mean, I guess, but I mean, she's from a comic book. They did her in the comics like that before they ever did her in the series. No, see, that's just it. Mondo Teela, that's where they got me. That's going to be my first Mondo. I'm going to say this. I didn't have the money for the She-Ra. If I'd have had the money in my hands, if they'd have been doing overtime at my job when they released Mondo She-Ra, that would have been my first Mondo. And then I'd probably been on for there. I'd have probably been on board from that point. But I didn't have the money. And because of that, I was like, I'm going to pass on it. It wasn't exactly my choice to pass on it. I didn't have a choice. I didn't have the money. If you don't have the money, you kind of justify, oh, well, I could skip this one. So if I'm being honest, had they had the overtime at the warehouse at that time, I'd have bought that She-Ra. But I didn't. And then Battle Cat came out, and I saw some other things that I liked. But when they previewed, like, have you seen... Of course you have. Of course you've seen that Mondo Tila because you're talking about it right there. That Mondo Tila, I'm sold. I will have the money for Mondo Tila. I will promise I will figure it out. Let's see. And yeah, there is that Mondo Sabretooth and whatnot. So let's see. Let's see. Legends, X-Men, 6-inch, still can't quit. You don't think this is a pretty rogue face? You don't think this one works? I actually kind of like this rogue face. Let me go in and see. I think that's pretty solid, actually. I like her looking tough, but I like things like Red Sonja and whatnot, so I like these tough. I think she's good. I think she's good. Let's move on. This. I put this on pre-order. Immediately. Immediately I went and put it on pre-order. The second I realized it was a thing, I got it. First off, broken helmet for Juggernaut, so I can have like the crazed Juggernaut that comes in swinging. I can finally have a Colossus that I want on the shelf. That's the 80s Colossus too. That's the one I've wanted. This looks like he's colored more in an animation color as opposed to the one that I almost completed. I have all but the legs of the Build-A-Figure. I never got the legs. But this one will have the extra hands because I think all I've got is punching hands on the one that I have downstairs. I literally have him on top of my speaker. So like my radio speaker on my radio in the garage where I'm going back to my workouts now because I was off of it for like a couple of months and I have put on like 20 pounds. Not good for me. I got to pull them back off. But I'm in the process of going back through that again. On that speaker out there, because he doesn't have legs, he just stands on top of the speaker like this. And yeah, that's the one I have. But the second somebody, I can't remember who it was somebody in a Toy Network group that I'm a part of said, "Hey, Colossus and Juggernaut are back up for pre-order." I was like, immediately like, oh my God. Yeah, this is awesome. I wish they did this more often. And I get why they don't. Because you have to be careful about putting out old product because either the people that already wanted it already got it, or you get what I mean. So it's a hard area to test the waters with. You can't like, if you put this out now, and then 2 years from now, people were like, "Oh man, I never got that pack," and you do another 10,000 of them, you may sell like 1,000 and sit on 9,000, and you can't. It's not going to work out. It's not going to be a good thing. So I get why they don't do it, but every now and then I love the idea that they put some of these back out on the market. Things that I missed, like this is a big deal. I wanted this. Like this is going to be awesome. I can't wait to do joint fights, some cool photography sets with freaking Juggernaut, Colossus, and the Thing, right? That's going to be awesome. These are some, I love that the helmet is broke like that. This battle damage helmet, and I don't know if that was in the original set like this. I don't remember it being part of the Build-A-Figure because I have the head and I don't have that. And that is so cool. He's got like the black eye. Something hit him hard, man. That is so cool. I don't necessarily love this crazy evil face thing, but at the same time, I have seen him look like that in the comics before, so it doesn't bother me. That Colossus is basically perfect. I mean, they could not have done better. In my opinion, they could not have done better on Colossus. This is the absolute defining figure for Colossus as far as I am concerned. They hit every single part they needed to perfectly. I mean, it's so good. Okay, so we are on to a Marvel Legends section, and we have a couple things to talk about here. First off, they are releasing Kazar, which is kind of cool, but not Sheena. But that's okay. This is my Build-A-Figure problem again. The Build-A-Figure wave, okay? I don't want them all. This is the best way, but I would love to have the figure. So look, here's my issue. Oh, and by the way, if anybody missed out on a really solid Deadpool, there is a very solid Deadpool back on the market. Both the one that came with the old scooter and just a really solid, fantastic Deadpool on the market. That's X-Force. That is pretty cool. Even I half consider it, and you know me, I like Deadpool, but not enough to honestly invest in him. So the fact that I'm looking at this and thinking that it's good enough that if I was ever going to put one on my shelf, it'd probably be something along these lines, that says something. So let's do this age-old argument again real quick. I like that the Juggernaut's uniform is so ridiculously skin tight that you can see his belly button. Even some of the women aren't wearing clothes that tight. There's nothing to the imagination on the Juggernaut. Let's see. So, this is my issue here. This guy, it's fine. I have zero interest in it. I mean, I guess that's cool, but to me, if I knew the storyline it came from and I gave a crap about the storyline, maybe this would be cool. But I don't, so this is just saving as much money as we possibly can on tooling Iron Man. That's what it is. They were just do him in white plastic, color him a little bit, put him out. And I get it. I know that he's from a storyline that I don't know, so I'm not necessarily being fair, but this is the reason so many different things appeal to different people, is because I don't know what this is from. There's no nostalgia tied to it, and there's no epic moment or anything like that. There's just the toy, and just the toy does nothing for me, so moving on from him. I don't know why Red Widow is getting so much attention. She's cool. I mean, she is cool, but she's not blowing my mind. I don't have to own her. But I do. So if I want the saber-toothed tiger, and I do, it would be cool to have the saber-toothed tiger. They're not going to sell this as a deluxe. I can't just buy the saber-toothed tiger. I have to buy her. That's one figure at nearly $30 that I don't want. So there's one. This dude, two figures at nearly $30 that I don't want. I don't want him. What do these guys cost? Yeah, $24.99 plus shipping and handling. Like I said, $30 a figure. I'm just rating it. So now I'm up to $60 of buying figures I don't want to get another part. Then, this dude, I'll admit, is pretty cool. He comes with the head. Do I rate this as a want? I'm not a Thor guy. So since I'm not really a Thor guy, while this is one of the cooler figures, and I wouldn't hate having it on my shelf, he's also nothing that I want to go out of my way for. That's $90 worth of figures that I don't necessarily want. Okay. Kazar? That's a possibility. That's a possibility. For multiple reasons. One, you could easily take this dude and with slight touch-ups, really just, you could just like switch over a battle harness, give him a sword, and then buy a custom head. You have He-Man. In the Marvel Legends scale. So he's great for design aspects, especially for people that would like work with him that way. So that's fine. And then Ka-Zar is actually kind of cool. And if we later get Sheena to go with him, that would be really cool. And then, I know a lot of people are looking forward to her. Wolfsbane. So this is cool for a lot of people. But not me. And I'm not attacking anybody that wants or likes any of this stuff. Don't misunderstand. I'm not. Because every character appeals to different people for different reasons. And some people just collect all Marvel Legends. And some people like what they like. And I understand the comic books that came out, why people would want Wolfsbane. That was a really cool set of books back then. But, for me, I don't care. I don't care. It's an era of the X-Men that while I did like it a lot, I've never collected anything from it. It doesn't matter to me. So now we're up to $120 worth of figures that I don't really want. And then Cable. So $160 worth of figures. Or rather, yeah, sorry. $120 was like, yeah. This is like, it's like $150 worth of figures that I don't want. $150 worth of figures that I don't want to get a saber-toothed tiger, which they could have sold alone for $40. I don't like Build-A-Figures. I understand why they do this. Because the argument is that it allows them to add into the piece count and build something that primarily they normally would not have been able to sell in the wave. That was the argument for years, was check it out. You want this big figure? Well, if we made this big figure, he doesn't really sit within the price index and blah, blah, blah. So screw the price index. That's my biggest problem here. We live in an age of action figures where there are action figures and there are deluxes. You know what's... And I'm going to put it to Motu again. Motu. Love Motu. But look, when they decided to do Clawful, they just released him as a $40 deluxe figure. He's big, and I mean he's big, he's huge, his arm is huge, he comes with multiple armors, he's got that cool, like everything about him is big. So they charged $40, and that's it. Instead of trying to justify him by taking the $25 figures that already exist, making them $30 figures and putting his leg in there, putting his arm in there, putting his armor in there. Stop it! That sales point is dead now. And it's been dead for a while. Look at the Clayface that they had you build in the McFarlane Toys line. Then they just sold the Clayface. So then you always had the ability to just sell the Clayface. It justifies selling characters. I'd have to get all this to get the Sabretooth, which means I don't want the Sabretooth now. I don't want the Saber-Toothed Tiger now because I'm not going to spend $150 worth of characters that I don't really want. Listen, space, and we've talked about this in multiple videos, that right there is prime Manhattan real estate. Prime. You want to live up there? You need to have a reason to live up there. Every single figure on that shelf, and I know I say this in multiple videos, but it's true. every single figure on that shelf has a story or reason behind it. And if it doesn't, it's gotta go. Because I only have the space I have. That's part of the reason I collect the way I do. So, this, I'm not about to buy a Cable. I don't care about Cable. I've never cared about Cable. I have zero Cable interest. He never spoke to me. He was Arnold Schwarzenegger action star in X-Men. And some people love him. Some people love him. I was never a big fan. And because I'm not a fan, and you force me to buy into Build-A-Figures, I just don't think Build-A-Figures work the way they used to, because they've proven that in the market, if you wanted to sell a giant horse, you could just sell the horse. We'll buy it. Put it online if you have to. If you have to do like a Mattel Creations or whatever, you know what I'm talking about, like our HasLab or whatever you got to do, we'll just buy it that way. I will not buy into the practice of buying like they release a wave and like 3 or 4 of them are pretty cool, but then there's like 2, even if there's just 2 in the wave that you don't like, but you want the horse or the animal or the bear or the cool guy, that's still $60 worth of figures that you don't want. These are going up in value in a way that makes me feel like at this point, just sell me it as a deluxe, quit this Build-A-Figure crap, or move on, or don't expect the line to sell. Because I'm not the only one that's starting to feel like this. I'm noticing a lot of people that are dipping out the same way as me in the Build-A-Figure things. Sometimes we see that it's labeled Build-A-Figure, and we immediately kind of just cherry pick the line and throw the pieces away, or sell the pieces at like toy tables or something, because we're never going to put that guy together. Like, we're not. Yes, that was exactly what that guy was. Let's see. That Widow cape is going to piss people off almost as bad as White Queen. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I agree with that. The Red Widow, her cape, if you're going to do a cape, and that cape is blatantly hindering, it needs to be soft goods. Period. If it is blatantly hindering, it needs to be soft goods. We're not talking about the trench coat here for like Gambit. We know that we can work around that. Or for that matter, it's time to start taking some notes from Jada Toys. When Jada Toys can add things like the gi to Ryu, or that material that they're using for Chun-Li where she's ridiculously posable and that battle skirt does not get in her way at all. Not even in the minutest of ways. Because that material is very malleable, and that's what they need for something like this. Put the Build-A-Figure as a deluxe. Exactly. It's died for me. I know I can't do it anymore. And I've actually been against Build-A-Figures for a long time, because as I was growing up, I remember getting into Build-A-Figures and never finishing certain guys. I didn't finish certain Megazords because Build-A-Figure. I didn't finish certain a lot of Marvel Legends. I didn't get the Colossus that I wanted. Build-A-Figure. I didn't get the Juggernaut that I wanted all those years ago. Build-A-Figure. When very blatantly releasing that 2-pack shows that they could have done it all along. They could have just taken... They have the molds. Deluxe it and piece it out. Charge me $40. So what? So what? So I pay the price of 2 Marvel Legends instead of 1 Marvel Legend, but it's for a character that I blatantly want, and he's bigger and more awesome and maybe even a little more detailed than the other characters were? Then let's do it. Or for that matter, look at something like the Build-A-Figure Blob that came out. That Blob was cool for its time, but the fact that they just recently did the Blob, and he's just a big, giant, awesome deluxe figure that you can just buy as a single thing, and he's better than the Build-A-Figure was anyway. then, like, what are we still doing this for? Just sell me the stupid cat. Just sell me the cat. Can you imagine if you had to put Battle Cat together piece by piece through a bunch of Motu figures? I guess it wouldn't bother me that bad because, like, I like basically every Motu Masterverse figure that I own. But, like, say there were very blatantly like, hey, and I'm not trying to crap on anybody's character here, but hey, you gotta buy Man-E-Faces in order to get the tiger's head. Or like one that a lot of people hate. Hey, you gotta buy Hair Sweep Tila to get the Battle Cat body. Like people would have been furious about that crap. So you know what they did? They just sold Battle Cat. It was big, it cost money, and we bought it. Because if we want it, we'll buy it. Buying a full wave for 2 figures. This creates work for me to sell the loose that I didn't want. Yeah, and you're never going to get even part of that money back because why are people buying these figures in the first place? For the freaking Build-A-Figure parts. So then if I buy Cable and I'm like, well, I don't give a crap about Cable. I'm going to sell Cable. He's going to make me like $5. Nobody wants him. I'm not being ridiculous, but look, the people that want him are going to go buy him and they're going to toss out the part that they know they're never going to use. And at the same time, the people that are buying all these guys specifically to get that part, and then they try to sell Cable, and it's like you and 40 other guys that are trying to sell Cable. And so what's he worth? Like $5? Is it even worth even selling him? You got to spend about $50 a day just to have a toy table anyway to sell him. And if you do like shipping and handling and things of that nature, it costs you just as much to ship him as it does to even sell him at all. So what's the point? What's the point? It's just a headache. Build-A-Figures is a detestable sales tactic nowadays. It's just not good. Everything sucks, Chris. No, I'm not trying to be that. These bother me. The Build-A-Figures bother me. It's one of the few things that, like, I try for everything that I'm worth to stay as positive as I can, but there are certain practices that get me going, and I really think Build-A-Figures are detestable at this point. Kids might even like a big Sabretooth, even though they don't like comics. It would sell on its own. It's right. How many kids buy dinosaurs and crap? Just sell the Sabretooth, man. Just sell the Sabretooth. And you're right. And look, here's the thing. They can nickel and dime me. They can nickel and dime me all they want by selling the tiger. That's just it. They're looking to make money. I'm not against that. I'm 100% on board for that. I understand that. I understand they're going to sell me the same Sabretooth 4 times in a row. Not the tiger, but the same Sabretooth. Why? Because they can just repaint him. Look how many times we've bought Wolverine. Brown suit, got him. Tiger stripe, got him. Astonishing, got him. The black and gray variant, got him. Like, just over and over and over again. And now there's actually another Wolverine that I want because I'm a putz. I want the Fantastic Four Wolverine. That blue and black that they're releasing, that's I want it. I don't even care. That Wolverine Spider-Man in Fantastic Four suits, I'm a putz. I'm buying it. That's proper nickel and diming, though. They know. They're like, what if we just gave him a variant costume? It's the exact same. It's just now he wears a Canadian flag or whatever. Just sell it to me. Give it to me. I'll buy it. Twice. I don't care. That's proper nickel and diming, though, because if I want it, I'll buy it. This actually pushes people away. And actually, let's say there's 2 guys from this line that you want. You might not buy the two guys that you want just because you'd be stuck with the pieces to something you'd never complete. That happens. That's another thing that happens. Let's keep going here. But yeah, that's my problem there. Now these, we got some new stuff coming in from McFarlane Toys. And they've already sold out, but I knew they would. I'm actually kind of making fun of that. This is awesome. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at that. We don't care about whatever the crap that is. We are, even though we can't get them, we're going to look at that. We're going to look at that. And we're going to look at that. Pre-sold out. I knew they would. I knew they would. There was no doubt in my mind that these McFarlane figures were going out the door, baby. So let's see. Bam. First off, $150 fraggin' dollars. Ouch. And also, no. No. Let's do this one more time. No. You gotta be kidding me. This is what price gouging looks like. Let me see this real quick. If these figures, because this says Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, Batman Blue version, and Robin Mafex. Okay, that's what I wanted to check real quick. These are Mafex characters. Maybe you could justify this. And I didn't realize they were Mafex. I had to go back and read it. This means that these are the kind of figures that once you buy them, that's it. I knew when I clicked on the image, I had to go back and double check because I was like, that doesn't look like a simple McFarlane figure. Like, I knew instantly something was different about it. Yeah, they've got the capes, they've got the wireframes, they've got the decent cuts. They have a lot more posability than what we're going to see in a McFarlane character. Solid. Would I still pay this? No, I wouldn't. But I understood after seeing that that's what it is. You know, that was, yeah, I knew. Check out the Batmobiles too. Okay, I'm going to have to look up whatever that is. But these are cool. I wouldn't pay this yet. Like $150, these would have to be something that really spoke to me. But it is cool. I'm certain that these will sell. Let's see here real quick. Move that. Okay, you said check out Batmobiles. I'm curious. Do you have an exact that I'm looking for here? Because there's a lot. Like, typing in Batmobile actually didn't do me any favors. It gave me a lot of stuff. We'll figure it out. This is once again Mafex. So this is the Mafex, but this is just the Batman. And look, the Batman is $100 by himself, and this is the black and gray version. Still very cool, like really cool. And if this was your Batman, then I can understand it. Mafex is expensive. I have yet to put in to Mafex. I think about it a lot, but I've yet to actually take the plunge because Mafex is Mafex is one of those things that you can get lost in and lose a lot of money real fast and not get a lot out of it. I'm not saying you won't get good figures, but look, if you're buying $20 or $30 figures and then you jump into Mafex, you were used to getting like 2 or 3 figures a month. Now you get 1. And not that he won't be worth it, but you have to change your perspective to jump into Mafex, and I just haven't found too many figures that I'm willing to do it with yet. Yeah, exactly. Now, speaking of McFarlane, though, we are into McFarlane figures here. Yeah, this is moving. Yeah, and you're right. The McFarlane stuff is still kind of dated. It's very pin heavy and everything like that. Not that we have to have all our figures pinless. These are pretty cool for what they're worth. This I wouldn't buy. And not because I hate it or anything. Just this isn't. If I was going to spend money on an Azrael armor, I'm not sure which one I would invest in. This is cool, but I think I would skip this one. I wouldn't mind having the Nightfall Batman Azrael, though, in all honesty. That would probably be pretty cool. But I knew this was going to sell. Right here. Who did I know this was going to sell out? I'm skipping this. Even if I find it, I'm skipping it. It is cool. The black and gray variant is cool, but I got the one I wanted. I got the blue and gray. That's the one I grew up with. It's the Nightfall variant that I read. It's the one that was in the comic books that I enjoyed the most. And it's the color scheme that, while I like black and gray, there's something about the comic book blue and gray that grabs me even to this day. I still love it. So this is cool, but I don't mind that I'm going to miss it. Who knows, though? In all honesty, if this appeared at an Overstock store, because I have two of those that I like to go to, and I have one which literally is called the Overstock Toy Store, and what he does is he buys literally pallets from like trucks and storage sheds and warehouses where they're looking to basically clear space out for whatever reason. Maybe, and I've worked in warehouses for a long time, maybe one pallet got knocked into another pallet and it damaged some of the boxes, and because of that they had 40 of these Batmans that they simply could not sell on Target shelves, but they could sell them to like people that buy stock. He buys those and then puts them in his store and then sells them for absolute dirt cheap. That's where I got a couple of my figures, because if the box is damaged, I don't care. I'm gonna open it. So if he's gonna sell me Ultimate Captain America for $10, here you go. Like absolutely no worries at all. Take my money. If this guy showed up in an Overstock store, I'd buy him. If I'm being honest with myself, I loved that Batman. That Batman is one of my favorite Batmans currently on the shelf right now. I loved that Nightfall McFarlane Batman. So good. So, if you're going to sell me a variant, black and gray, and I come across it somewhere, if I'm being honest with myself, if I have the money, he's probably a buy. If I'm out shopping online and looking for something specific, I could pass this guy easily. It's not gonna break my day to not have him. It's not gonna bother me at all, in all honesty. But I can tell you that this guy, I was not surprised for a second that he was gonna sell out. Like, not for a second did I believe that he was not going to sell out. Like, I knew it. And then this is pretty awesome. If I'm being honest with myself, this guy I will buy. I'll buy this guy. If I come across him, he's almost a guarantee buy. First appearance Batman? Yes. With a wire cape? Yes. So we have opposable cape that will hold shape that is cloth. We have first appearance Batman, which is just something that's going to look really sharp and neat on the shelf, because he's just awesome. He's different. He really does cut quite the figure. I love it. I have one of these on the shelf, but it's got a solid cape. It's very old. It's kind of cool. This guy would move better. He would have better articulation. His body looks more decent than I think the one that's currently on my shelf, and that cape is the selling point. This I would be into. At his price, this I would be really into. You're talking about $23 for a first appearance Batman. Good scale, solid body, overall design, really, really good. Yeah, I'm on board. You got me on that one. That I'm interested in. Let's see, G.I. Joes. They did release some cool ones. We got some cool stuff coming out in pre-orders now. Let's see. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at her. I want to look at this because I don't know what it is. Oh, I thought this guy was pretty cool. Okay, so what is this? Oh. No. She's cool. I heard people crying that her arms are supposed to be red. Guys, if you've gotten this far into the classified line and you haven't figured it out yet, what's going on? Like how can I be so new to G.I. Joe that my only real experience with it is buying random G.I. Joes to play with in the at my neighbor's house? I never watched the series, never read the comics. And yet I can come in here, I can look directly at this, and I can tell you that classified, the idea is that the first wave of classified figures, the classified, updates the variant. It changes the look. It makes it a more modern day figure with different assets. Then the retro card that comes up later, right? The retro card that comes up later is the one that you guys want. That's the one where they do the original colors for Duke. That's the one where they do the original colors for like Gung Ho. That's the one where they do the original hits for different characters like Scarlet and whatnot. Like, I don't know, like, when they announced this, I knew instantly that's not the classic. I had this figure when I was growing up. So now I'm looking at her and I'm like, okay, I see how they changed her. I get it. There's some of this that I'm really on board with. And I wouldn't mind having, literally, both of them. I wouldn't mind having both of them. But, like, I'm very confused how people are still not necessarily picking up. But, like, I see people complain every single time a classified is released. And I can't figure out why. Like, if you're looking for the retro one, and that's where your heart lies, then critique the retro figure. That's the one that's literally being made for you. This is more built on the aspect of updating the line with new variant aspects and looks. And if you're unwilling to see something new, then the first wave classified figures are not really for you. If you're looking to jerk your nostalgia boner, which most of us, I understand, that's a thing that we really like to do, then you're looking for nostalgic material, which is the retro card figures. That's the ones, I just don't get it. Not sure what I got ripped off about. Not sure. This is 100% what classified is. People complaining, yeah, exactly. What is, like, I get so confused. You're right. This is what classified does. It's the whole reason for its existence. But I like this a lot. Like, I think it's really cool. I like that they have the blindfold. But if you put it on her right, it could also be a bandana. But you could just not have it on at all. And she looks, you actually get to see her face. I didn't see her face in the original figure because she came with that head back in the original figure. Not that it was bad, I'm just saying that's what she was. I remember, this is very close to what the original figure was. I had this figure when I was growing up, and I very much remember that she had the red that went all the way down and cover her arms and everything like that. But I like this a lot. I think this is cool. This is a solid reimagining. It's just close enough to what originally happened, what the original figure was, but it's updated also just enough to do exactly what Classified does. I like that weapon. That's a cool weapon. Yeah, I think this is really cool. I think that blindfold is a cool effect. She's one I want for the shelf. Is that peg in her back? Okay, yeah, she has the sword that will go in. Okay, if you put a peg hole in the character's back and you don't fill it, it bothers me. That's really cool. I like this a lot. She is cool. The only thing I'm having trouble with here... Yeah, she's solid. She's going to be so cool to add to the shelf, man. I look forward to her. I need to see one thing. Okay, it's just the figure they were shooting with. I am curious if you could take the necklace off. I probably won't, but I am curious if it's a separate part, that if it will move around, and maybe when you pop the head off, maybe you could pop that part off as well if you wanted to. But, okay, so I'm seeing in here, this is what I was looking at. Her chest area, I guess I'm trying to look at her chest. Is that bad paint? Or is she kind of got freckles? I think that the one that they were shooting with didn't have good paint. Because in a couple of the other shots, like here, I don't see all that specs stuff going on. And it also looks like the face is done a little better on this one. Like maybe they had two different figures that they were messing with when they took the photos. Because I also, and they could have done touch-up, but I don't see the little black dots that were like off place. You see what I'm saying? Like on the arm, on the tattoo. So I think that what we're looking at here, because I was curious if they did like freckle designs or something like that, like kind of gave her imperfections in the skin, which is fine if they do something like that, because if that's a feature they want to add to make characters a little more realistic, I'm actually not, I'm not freaking out about that. I saw that during their thing when they were announcing this, because I watched that Hasbro thing while I was actually at work picking tubes, and I saw that it was coming on, so I put it on so it would play in the background. I could hear it. And while I was picking, I heard them talking about it. And I did happen to glance over, because while they were still doing their stuff, I had like a 10-minute break that came up in between my pick scale. And I looked, and I saw a lot of people complaining about the new boxes. I guess I'm glad I'm an opener. I don't care. To me, and maybe this is because I'm not an inbox collector, that box is fine. It does everything it's supposed to do. It has an open window. I can see the character. I can see the piece count. It looks like it would look fine. It's not overly amazing, but I don't think any of the boxes have necessarily blown my mind for this line. They've just been kind of packing boxes, except for then they were closed boxes and they kind of like had some artwork and whatnot. But I don't see a problem with this. I really think this is cool. This is really cool. Kim Jinx is going to be awesome to put on the shelf. See if anybody, we got stuff going on. Must buy for me. Jinx and Helix back to. I did get Helix. I didn't get to film it, but the last toy show I went to, I was only able to find 2 figures at the toy show. To be fair, I went in with very little money. I had like $100 in my pocket, and that's it. And I had to eat on that as well. So when I got there, I was being very picky. I walked around. I looked at everything I could. I found one thing I wanted, and I couldn't buy it because there was no one to buy it from. Like, it was the weirdest experience I've ever had at one of these toy shows. I walked in, and I found Gowron, and I was like, yes, a Gowron! I picked it up, turned around. where? Hey, who runs this booth? Guy's like, what? You run this booth? Nah. Do you know who does? No. Huh. And I'm looking around, and everybody kind of looks at some stuff, and then they kind of walk off, and all of a sudden I'm the only guy standing at this booth, as if it's my booth. And one guy even walked up and said, hey, and what did he say? He said, so I think it was for a data. He picked up like a data or whatever, because the guy was selling a bunch of Star Trek stuff. And he says, $5? And I said, oh, I don't own this booth. But I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't take $5. I mean, and he goes, well, where's the dude that owns it? And I go, I don't know. And both of us just kind of looked around and went, what the? And so I had to put Galron back. So I didn't get Galron. He was only going to be like $6. I kind of wish the dude would have been there. I would have bought Galron. I would have loved to have had Galron on the shelf. But then I went around and looked at a bunch of other stuff, and I found 2 figures. I found Helix and I found the Snow Serpent, and I was like, all right, I'll be more than happy leaving with this. And picked it up. I was genuinely excited. I thought that was a fantastic find. And I didn't overpay for them either. Helix cost me $30. At a convention, I was willing to pay that. It didn't bother me. It didn't feel like it was like he wasn't trying to gouge me. I know what she normally costs. He wanted $30. I wasn't finding her anywhere else at the time. There you go. Here's your money. So, he went basically about $5 over value on anything that was sitting on his table in terms of over retail, and that's fine. To me, at a convention, it really doesn't bother me. It's when people really gouge hard that I see those prices, and it really makes me mad. Let's see. I got a $100 budget, so I have to be very picky in terms for prices. No, I understand that, and that's exactly what I'm telling you, is that sometimes I'm right there with you. In fact, I'm always right there with you. I have $100 per paycheck that's my money to play toys. And so in order to get more money, if I put $20 into a toy and I buy like the one Motu figure that I want this time, I could slide the 80 onto the next, and then I have like a bigger thing and I can go out and get something big and cool. But yeah, I have to play games like that too. And if I buy a video game, which the last video game I bought, which this is a problem with video games right now. I know everybody's really excited and they're playing the new Final Fantasy right now, which is probably why I've heard from none of my friends. But while they're playing new Final Fantasy, I'm just sitting here flabbergasted at the fact that the last video game I bought, a video game, cost me $89. And yes, that is actually what it cost me. I bought the video game, and I walked out of there at like 78 something, and then bought one DLC pack, which was like $10 or whatever. And I was like, this is like a freaking $90 video game now. Like, to get the game complete, I had to put, it was $90. And I was like, at that point, and at the budget I'm at, the game either has to blow my mind right now, or I don't even want to play it. And that makes it really tough, because it can be really hard to determine what it is in terms of a game, because you're not playing it. And you can go watch somebody play it, but I've watched a lot of people play video games that then I get in there and I hate it, or I love it 5 times more than they love it because I find something that speaks to me about it. And so it just, yeah, it's like, it's tough, man. Like, and with games going up to that limit where new games cost $70 minimum at 9% sales tax, which is the area that I'm in, it's a 9% sales tax. So if I want to get a brand new game, like, say, the new Final Fantasy, which I kind of do, but the new Final Fantasy coming out at $70 alongside what is going to be a 9% sales tax on $70, and I'm walking out at $77, if not higher, depending on the store, I just don't have it in me the way that I am right now. I just don't have it in me. And right there, like, And I get that you're right there, you're like, F that. But some games, if I'm buying, because last year I bought like 2 video games and that was it. So I guess that doesn't necessarily rob me of gaming because I only bought what I absolutely wanted to play. But it sure made it a lot more difficult to justify. And like you're saying right there, nope, I was playing new Yakuza, only cost me $120, took me 130 hours to beat. If you reference that as $1 per hour of gameplay, you didn't do too bad. And I know that's a hard justification for some people. $120 is $120 and you would freak at thinking about paying that. But at the same time, you would go watch a movie at $16 a ticket. Plus, look, the last movie that I saw was Jurassic Park 3D. It was actually really good. I'm going to tell you, it actually was. It was very good. But the ticket was $17. The drink was like $7. And the small popcorn, literally just a popcorn for me, was like $4. And I spent all of that and watched a movie that was under 2 hours long. And we'll justify that price tag. We don't get anything but watch time out of that. But then we'll look at a video game. Some people will look at a video game and say $89 and I'm only going to get like 100 hours out of it? No way. Well, how does that make sense? You see what I'm saying? You could, if you're willing to look at time value, you can justify a lot if you're really putting it in. I never buy games at full price anymore. I'll wait 6 months, a year or more, lots of time, there are a lot of other games to play, but there is something to be said for getting in. Not every game do you need this experience, but sometimes it is a good idea to be at the ground level with certain games and play when it comes out, or by the time you get to it, there'll be nothing left to experience. Even if you try to avoid every spoiler there is, it's not always possible. You can very well end up knowing everything that changed or is different about a game. I waited about 4 months before getting into Final Fantasy VII Remake. Bad idea. There are no surprises for me. None. Literally none. And I did not go looking for the information. I have every friend of mine every friend I have was basically playing the game. I had a roommate who was playing the game. And I had it on every single tiny piece of social media that was out there saying, they changed this, they did this, I like this, I don't like this. And even just skimming down as quickly as I could, just reading the key points, nothing about that game surprised me. Nothing. There was not a single moment in all of Final Fantasy VII Remake that made me go, oh, whoa! Nothing. Nothing. No surprises. But had I got that game day one and played it alongside everybody else that was hyping on it, there were things in there that I would not have seen coming if I didn't already know everything that was coming. I have 2 PS4 games I got for $4, don't have a console to play them on, but I own them. Well, I don't even know why you did that. I don't know what the... I mean, that's fine. You can see your movie on Max, and you can justify your price points wherever you want, but I'll tell you that as a person that has watched movies my entire life and has currently, because the new theater scene that's running around my area is playing old movies in the theaters, I've been going to a lot of old movies on the big screen, and the experience is different. I can't explain it to you any better than it is better in every single conceivable way. I just watched Wrath of Khan on the big screen on an IMAX theater with full actual surround sound. It was unbelievable. I saw things and noticed things in that movie that I've never noticed or heard before. It's different. It's a real experience. So would I justify the $40 I paid to go watch an old movie? Yes. If they put Back to the Future, I'm watching it. If they do, if they did Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters, or Part 2, I would go watch that in theaters. If they do, what's a couple more that I really like? Oh, you know what? Tell me they're going to play Superman or Superman 2. I'd go. I'd watch that. Big screen? Yeah, absolutely. If they tell me they're going to play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original movie, on a big screen, an IMAX theater presentation, full remastery, take my money. Take $60. I'll justify it. I'll justify it like that. No questions asked. I still praise that is one of the greatest, easily in the top 10 greatest comic book movies ever made in the history of movies, period. Comic book movies. I'm telling you, it is. And I would go see that because I know by watching all of these that the more old movies I'm seeing, I just watched Enter the Dragon. I watched Enter the Dragon on the big screen. I have watched Enter the Dragon at least 80 times or more in the course of my life. And I both heard lines and saw things that I never noticed before in the theater. I was watching it like, did they add that? How did I miss that? Like, I'm telling you right now, the theater is a different experience. You can say whatever you want here. I don't need to go to the theater for theater. No, it is not the same. It is not the same thing. Movies are built for the theater, period. I know that there's an argument to be had that the theater is dying, and there's a reason for it, because convenience is convenience. But theaters, when they make movies, they make them with the theater in mind. There's an experience in the theater that cannot be duplicated at home because the movie was never made for your television. Even my dad, who has a 100-inch frickin' TV, cannot duplicate the experience that I had watching that movie in the theaters. Period. You go to a modern day theater with perfect projectors, with an actual like 100% new age surround system. Nothing in your personal home can amount to it. Nothing, because it was not designed for your house. These movies were designed for the theater, so you always miss a little piece of that life when you see it at home, and you don't even realize it sometimes until years later when they replay in the theater and you go watch a movie that you've watched 100 times. Like, you watch a movie 100 times at home, go to the theater and watch the same movie, and you will notice and see there is a difference because it was built for that medium. It is different. And no, I would not go see The Quest for Peace. I would not go see Nuclear Man in the theaters. No way. $60 ticket, but it's all 3 Turtle movies in a marathon. Do you go? Yes. Yes, because I love Turtles 1. I like Turtles 2. As I've gotten older, I've tended to detest certain parts of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 because it gave in to the... Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 should have continued with the same atmosphere as Part 1, and you would have seen one of the greatest movies ever made. Period. But we were cheated of that because they had to play stupid at the time because of what was going on. So, yes, I would go see it. And I would definitely watch the third one because there's also something to going to watch bad movies that everybody already knows is bad in a theater where everybody in that theater is just waiting to throw down on that movie. That's an experience that's hard. It's hard to explain, but it's super fun if you've ever been to one of those movies where like the entire theater is just ready to rip into some terrible crap. It's a blast because half that movie is just listening to what everybody else is about to come down on it with. It's fantastic. I just rewatched Game of Death, and I love to see that in the theater. No, yeah, absolutely. Where do you rank the 2003 Turtles cartoon in the history of turtledom? So, it's second. It's second. I honestly believe that 2013 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles they did, I think it was 2013. It's Nickelodeon. It's the one, the CGI. It's 2013. It's around that time. That is the best Ninja Turtles ever done series-wise. Ever. I don't care. It is. I know people don't like the art style. I know people had certain problems with it. But its storyline, the way that it handles itself, that it tells very clear, intended for adults stories in a fun way that your kid will get behind, but while paying mad respect to everything that ever came before it, it found a way to take everything that the Turtles had ever done and mesh it into this one thing. And yeah, sometimes certain things had to be changed, but as you sat through and you watched where the story was going, you understood why. And not a single episode, not even one single episode in the run of the 2013 cartoon is without consequence. Not one. Every episode bled into the next, creating a narrative that affected the main drive that hit to the very end of the story. So the investment of the entire story is so worth it. And I don't want to give it away, but the reason I'll tell you that these stories were meant for an adult, that only adults will fully appreciate exactly what's going on, is because it deals with hardships like losing leadership, the strife between brothers, coming of age, learning your family, figuring out who you are, what you're willing to deal with, what you're not willing to deal with. And in the end, characters were not safe. That's what I'm going to tell you. Characters were not safe. I did not expect that they were willing to play full tilt on that show to the point of death, and no, they don't cop out. The characters that die stay dead all the way to the end. That blows my mind. And yeah, the Supergirl movie is garbage. I don't know. This thing is kind of cool, a 1/6 scale. He's $150 by himself, but he's one of those figures, comes with like actual gear. So he's got all, like, he has actual pouches and everything like that. These things are cool. I've never really invested in one of these things. Like I say, I don't really do the 1/6 scale figures, but that Teela is going to be my first Mondo. Let's see, what is, this guy's cool. I don't know this dude, or if he like was a thing in like the old Joes or anything like that, but I thought this was cool. What really impressed me is the stretcher. One of the things that I've really appreciated about these is that these figures, they carry everything. I know it's not a big deal to other people, but if you grew up in my time, that is a huge deal, because all the time we had Joes that like how many times did you have the G.I. Joe that like had the handgun and it was like in the pouch over here, but it was like part of his leg. You couldn't take it out. How many times did you have where he came with like 4 different guns, but he could only carry like one at a time, and you couldn't put it in the backpack or anything like that? So like you just had to like pretend that he could like pull the guns out or whatever, or you just had to pick the one that he was going to run around with. They have made it a personal mission for every single one of these characters to be able to carry everything with them and on them at all times. Then I see this medical guy come out. And I see that he has a stretcher. And I'm like, how are you going to handle that? They made it his backpack. So like, here, look at all this stuff. Here's all this stuff fully equipped. And yes, the glasses are a separate piece that sit over the eyes. So you can have him with or without his glasses. And then he can literally pack all that stuff up and carry every single part of that gear, including the stretcher. I was like, all right, you have my attention. Like, that is a level of detail. They had to come up with a way to do that. And when they showed me, I was like, okay, yeah, you guys deserve some praise on this one, because that was a tough one. Doc was part of the original 80s Joe, a fan favorite. Well, he does seem cool. Like, yeah, and all I'm going on is I'm just looking at him, and I could tell that he looks pretty cool. So I'd be interested to see, like, what's going on with him or whatever, you know? Will you ever have a Sergeant Slaughter on your shelf? I feel like we're falling into dead air. I'm not supposed to do that on a stream, but I'm fighting with myself here. If I came across a Sergeant Slaughter and they were not gouging me on it, they weren't like trying to literally gouge me, because Sergeant Slaughter, I did run into him at a couple of stores and I was like, nope, no way. I'm not paying $80 for a Sergeant Slaughter. No. But, if I came across him and he was actually worth the money, if he was a fair value, $24, $30, maybe $35, because I know he's a big deal. Because he's got two different fandoms backing him, so I know they can sell him at unfair prices. If I found him for something that I felt was fair, he wouldn't bother me on the shelf. Because yes, he's a wrestler. I don't care about wrestling. But in the G.I. Joe context, when I put him on my shelf, he looks like kind of a cool drill sergeant guy. And that would look real good with the army aesthetic that's already currently building on the shelf. So if I found him and they didn't gouge me on him, yes, I would be interested in a Sergeant Slaughter. And from what I can tell, and we're going to go back and look at the pictures for you, because as far as I could tell, like, I'm looking here, right? And I think they are translucent. I can kind of see his eyes here, right? You see what I'm saying? It's not perfect, but I think, because look, here's his eyes, okay? I see zero indication. So let's move forward. There, see on that white background? I think that these are translucent. I think they went through the trouble to do it in grade plastic so that it's translucent plastic, and then went through the trouble of painting around it to create the frames and the sculpt. See, even look here, you can kind of see his finger. You can see right back here. These are, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think this is a trick. I don't think it's a photography trick. I think the glasses are translucent. I think they're transparent. I think we will actually be able to put the glasses on and see his eyes. And that is pretty cool. Because But yeah, he's one that I thought was really cool. So if I came across him, I wouldn't mind having him on my shelf. Okay, and that has been what we're doing here. I kind of wish I'd have come across this. I don't know. Maybe there's a Mafex Batmobile that you were talking about. I didn't see what you were talking about, in all honesty. I mean, here's Batman stuff. Like, there's the bike. I'm sure I'll find it at some point sometime. Yeah, if you knew exactly what it was, I could try to look it up or whatever. But as of right now, I don't know what it is. I know the animated series Batmobile that came out, because that was like right down here. And that's pretty cool. But that's for those vintage figures, which we talked about those in a different thing. So let's go over to Big Bad, because we're about to end our night here, and I like to go over here. That's awesome. Okay, so I want to check these real quick. Nothing too big. I just kind of want to scale down and see if something catches my attention, because we're coming up on the end here. A lot of this is awesome. I gotta manage my budget. There's a lot of stuff I want. So I gotta kind of put a. Right now, a lot of my money is tied up because I'm trying to guarantee that Super Scroll line, and like all those figures are like $60 a piece and hard to track down. And I already got one that came to me wrong. So that really did me in bad. Oh man, some of this, okay. So, these right here, Mythic Legion, I gotta go look real quick, cause, okay, this dude, are two people that I definitely want. I definitely want. And I did put one on pre-order. Let's not hide the pre-order. Let's see the pre-orders, because I did buy one. There she is. I bought her. When I realized that she was a barbarian, like a barbarian snow elf thing, like that caught my attention immediately. I was like, all right, you've got me on this one. When I noticed she was an elf barbarian, that level of sculpt detail, the white hair, all like just the surround, like this is my first dive into Mythic Legions right there. That's going to be my first one. So I've already got her on pre-order. I did go ahead and bite the bullet on this one, because I've always wanted to dive in, and I just haven't done it yet. She's my key. She'll fit my shelf perfectly with all the other stuff that I've got. And she's just really cool. And the second I seen her, I was like, I could literally do that in half the, I could make her in Elder Scrolls. Like, that's so cool to me that it caught my attention. I want him. So if she goes over very well, and I'm hoping she does, and I'm hoping I don't screw myself here, because right now he's in stock. A lot of these are in stock. And I'm waiting on something that by the time it gets here, like, I'm hoping I haven't screwed myself to where, like, I can't, you know what I mean? Like, he disappears and then I can't get him, which does happen with Mythic Legions. It is very much a thing that happens. But, like, she's set to show up. You go find her again. In fact, dupe. Let me see them pre's. Wow, there's a lot of these coming out. Okay, yeah, she comes out third quarter. It's a long time. But if she shows up and she's solid, I'll dive in from this point. And he's one of the ones I want. He's one of the ones I want. And she's one of the ones I want. So this will be my dive into Mythic Legions, and wherever that takes me, I don't know, but we'll see how that goes once I get it. And then it's just one more thing that I'll have to play with in terms of it's one more thing I'll have to play with in terms of like managing budget and everything like that, because they're like $50 figures every time. So I'll definitely be picking and choosing. And I would have loved to have got the bear. It's a friggin' bear. But I can't justify bear right now. Leave it down. Let's see. No, it's clearly a game. But for her to be raging loudly enough for the mic to pick it up, she's yelling like... Let's see. Mythic Legions are like hard... Yeah, I know. That's, But I will say, and maybe I'm giving myself too much credit, I do pretty well about this stuff. Like, I'm huge into, like, the Motu line. But you'll notice that, like, it doesn't bother me to wait for something. Like, when I missed my shot at She-Ra in Origins, I just waited. Yeah, it took a long time for that She-Ra to come back into circulation at a price that I was willing to pay. But my patience in Motu and most of these toys have paid off every time. Every time. Usually if I want something, I'm usually willing to wait it out, and if I can't get it, it doesn't bother me that bad. I do need to do another video. I have another video. I kind of wrote down the idea, but I want to talk about grails, like stuff that you miss, stuff that you really feel you wanted, and I kind of think that video is going to be interesting because it'll be a chance for me to talk about how most of the stuff I want, I've got. And there's very little that I feel in grail status, things that like, I'm like, oh my God, wouldn't it be cool to have? I don't have many things that are like phantom chances, that are like so off in the distance that I'm just never going to be able to get them or whatever. I'm usually pretty good about keeping that under control and not falling into the hard FOMO part of collecting. And it was not easy to do in terms of to kill a lot of that, because I'm like everybody else. I have hard FOMO like anybody else. But I think it's also what kind of affected my video games in the last couple years, is when I started realizing that part of myself and started killing it little bit by little bit, it killed a lot of my drive to like jump at video games. Because I was very much the guy that was like, I got to get these 4 games and I got to get them right when they come out. And then I started realizing that I had all these games on the shelf that like I never even played. Like, and I was like, what am I doing? And then slowly but surely I kind of bled myself out of it. And then like, now there's been like huge games that have come up that they're very much the kind of games that I would have jumped at, that I'm like, I'll wait. And that was tough to do, but that mentality started following me into a lot of other aspects, including this stuff. And then that's allowed me to be pretty careful with things in terms of when I get them, how I get them, what I'll wait for, how often I'm willing to play chicken. Like, do you wait for it to hit clearance, or is this something that you need not be stupid about? Like behind me, there's that right there. That I was not waiting on. That I had a feeling, a pretty secure feeling, that it was, when it released, it was probably going to do 1, maybe 2 waves and then disappear. And when it disappeared, you'd be paying real money to get one. So I didn't wait on it. I got Dark Wolf immediately, which then takes me into the idea, now they say that they're releasing Tigra. She's another one that I will not be waiting on, because I know that when Tigra comes out, especially with the Panther, that's going to be a 2-set. It's going to be Tigra and her Panther. No. No, I won't wait on that. I'll get that immediately because that's going to be another one of those items that's going to do like a single wave, just like some of the old Conan figures, and then it's going to disappear, and then you're never going to own it unless you're willing to pay stupid money. And I'm not willing to pay stupid money, which is partly the reason why there is not a single Motu Classics on that shelf, because I am unwilling to pay Classics money. I feel like those figures are overrated in terms of what they cost. And you can justify it all you want. That's your money. I can't justify it. Any interest in the RoboCop game or the new S-Squad game? I've heard real bad things about the Suicide Squad game. And I don't really know much about the RoboCop game. But if done right, I wouldn't hate a RoboCop game. I'll have to look up what it is you're talking about. And see, that's another thing about like killing that part of myself bled out a lot of other things too. Is I used to watch video games real close, and now sometimes I don't even know a game is coming out unless like Shane or somebody goes, "Oh my God, did you see?" And like I'm not watching like the game shows or the presentations or anything like that. Also, because that started to irritate me too, is I was getting like that FOMO stuff is crazy to me. When I really stopped and started looking at some stuff, they're like, "Hey, look, there's a thing." And then they'll get you all hyped up for the idea that there's this game, and they'll show you a game trailer that's just a CGI cutscene, and like, who cares? What do I know? That the game has CGI in it? Like, who cares? Like, at that point, like, I need to see the game play. Like, a lot of people got super, like, there was videos everywhere talking about the fact that there was a Wonder Woman game, and I went and watched the trailer, and it was like 20 seconds, and then it shows like the character model, and she has the lasso, and she kind of whips it, and I'm like, cool. But if you were asking me to put money down on it right now, no way. I've never seen it do anything. Indiana Jones game, they were like, check it out. It's a table and a hat. And I was like, big fucking deal. Like, who cares? Like, who cares? And I did the same thing with Zelda. And not that was a bad game, but when they were like, hey, Tears of the Kingdom is coming out, and they showed that trailer, and it was like, an elf boy opens a door, runs out, jumps on a rock, and the rock floats, end of trailer, big deal. Show that trailer with any game that is not Zelda, and people would be like, so what is that? Like, what's the game about? And you'd be like, it's about an elf boy in a sandbox with flying rocks, and so what? Like, it really changed my perspective on a lot of these things. So I don't even know about the RoboCop game. I mean, I know, I think I've seen a couple pictures or anything like that, but like, I'm not going out of my way for any of this stuff lately. And it almost feels like I lost a small part of myself, but I feel like I gained a lot from it too, because now it's usually not till after a game has already come out and I've had some real time with it before I get my hands on it and then care about it. But like I said, there's also a downside to that too, because you're the person that like misses out on everything. Because if you don't get in on the ground floor, there's no surprises for you when you finally like start playing, because we live in a time where you almost can't be surprised. It's really hard to avoid quote unquote spoilers. I even saw people on today that were like, hey, I'm going to be online today on this account because this account doesn't seem to have anything about Final Fantasy on my feed. And I'm like, not right now. But it's about to. Like, you better believe that, because today, all day today, while I've been scrolling down, I've seen thing after thing after thing after thing after thing, Final Fantasy. And once again, I didn't get in on the ground floor, so I've already seen like 30 different things that I kind of wish I hadn't seen, but it's too late now. That's the world we live in, so I don't know. But that's it. We've hit the 2-hour mark. We are canceling out. We are going bye-bye. Hope you stuck around. Hope you had fun. Hope we talked about some stuff. Hope we answered questions. Hope we looked at some cool toys. And I will catch everybody later.